Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Paragon Guide. I am Sylphin, and in this video we are taking a beginner's approach to the heroes of Paragon. We're going to take a very brief look at all of the heroes. Since you're not necessarily familiar with all of them, I will give you kind of my impression of the hero, what I recommend that what you upgrade and what you card for that hero, kind of general overall view of all of the heroes in Paragon. So you open up your screen for the first time and you go, I simply want to go into the game, hit play, player versus player, call versus AI solo, AI play. However, you don't necessarily know all of the heroes and which one do you pick. So you can go over here to the profile tab, go over to the heroes tab right here. You're probably going to open up on the view, so go here on the heroes, and these are all the heroes here in Paragon. Now there's a lot of them, and there's a few that are of course my favorites, but hopefully this little guide here on each of the heroes will be useful. So starting up in the top left is Decker. She is a support hero, and there are kind of two affinities, two types of special cards that you can use, growth and order cards. What you need to know about Decker is she is a crowd control master. She has a wonderful stun that can really turn the tide of an engagement. She has her ultimate is a fence that literally fences in the enemies in a certain area. If they try to escape, then they take damage. She combos really, really well with Steel, the Fae, Gideon, Howitzer, any of those four, and I'm probably missing some others as well, that deal a large AoE ultimate, simply because if she fences them all in, those characters can jump into that fence and do wreck havoc. She really does well with cooldown reduction so that she can use those crowd control abilities faster, and obviously you need some mana or mana regen to really, offset that cooldown reduction. Some damage. This is a general suggestion for every single hero, no matter what build you're doing. Damage, if you're going to take damage in the game at all, do it in the early game. Damage really, really helps for getting the last hits, because that gives you a lot more card power than otherwise. So do damage in the early game. Decker, that's pretty much it. Cooldown reduction, some mana. If you're going to throw in some health and some special active cards that might be in there, that might be good as well. Very strong hero. Once you kind of get used to her abilities, you can really make a lot happen. Fang is a very interesting hero. He used to be much more complicated than he is currently. Not my favorite hero, but under the right circumstances, he is an absolute beast. He's a fantastic 1v1 solo kind of hero. He's typically a jungler and a great hero to do ganks with. He really, really benefits from attack speed. He has quite a slow basic attack speed, so attack speed is a wonderful, wonderful upgrade for him. That's definitely a must. He does have a shield on him, so to complement that shield, you could be actually a fairly bit tanky with Fang as well, and that really keeps him relevant in team fights, and especially as a 1v1 duelist. He has, what else? He has good mobility with one of his abilities, and his ultimate is it does quite a significant amount of damage. So if you can line people up for that ultimate, it's a very powerful. He is not, like I said, not that complicated to use anymore, but he is, like they say, an intermediate hero, so definitely somebody to watch out for. I just realized Decker, you didn't really see her because my camera was over her. So there's Decker. She's a doll. Really, really cool. There you go. Put me back. There we go. Gadget. Another one of my favorite heroes. She's gotten some love recently, casters in general, so she's actually kind of moved up a little bit in the hero rankings. She is, she's a caster, really. A great lane bully. She has absolute crazy range with two of her abilities. Yeah, two of her abilities, very long range. She's a great poke hero, and you know, if you build a lot of energy damage, she does a lot of damage. Her ultimate is monstrous. It's a huge dome of pulsating damage that just combos again really well with Decker. I think I forgot her actually in the combo, because if she fences off the area, if the Fae pulls all the enemy into an area, steals whatever, you know, she's really good. Cooldown reductions is really good for anybody that spends a lot of their abilities. Cooldown reductions really strong on casters with some lots of mana. The Howitzer card is really good for her because she's just intellect affinity. A lot of those intellect cards have some really unique actives and passives that she can really benefit from. So I mean, she can really destroy lanes really well. She can do a lot of damage from the back line. So be very careful of Gadget. They say she's an easy character. I would say so, but a lot of potential in Gadget. Gideon, the atypical caster hero, gonna be a very popular character in the masses, and he's a caster. His ultimate is a black hole that sucks everything around him, does a crazy amount of damage. He has a long range poke with one of his abilities. He can slow people with another ability, and he can teleport away. Very good caster, does a lot of damage. He obviously cooldown reduction again for casters can be really powerful. A lot of mana. Corruption build with him was okay when I did it, but I'm sure there's a really good corruption build with him as well. Very strong caster overall. Greystone, a very interesting fighter. Building around his ultimate is actually very powerful. His ultimate is when he dies, he just comes back to life, does some damage around him, and it's kind of like the stun effect. So working around that ultimate is actually really powerful. So you can either build very tanky so that, you know, when he actually does die, you can just come back to life and be even more of a tank. You're kind of like 1.5 lives, really. So you can be a really effective tank that way, or you can actually be a really strong tanky fighter, where you do a lot of damage, but you're also tanky as well, so that when you're doing a lot of damage, you can stay in the fight simply because when you die, you come back. Hence, you can kind of keep going. I'm really interested in trying a lifesteal build with him, because when he does come back to life, he only comes back to life with 50% health. So if he can, you know, keep the lifesteal going while he's in the fight, maybe get more than his right kind of, you kind of see where I'm going. Very, very strong hero. He has a lot of potential that I have yet to. He's the second newest hero as the recording of this video, so a lot of potential left to discover with Greystone. He has a fairly fast, moderate attack speed for his basic attack, so attack speed is good with him, but a lot of damage would be really, really good with him as well. He has really good mobility. He's a very strong hero for sure. He's a very, very noob friendly with his ultimate, so definitely a good hero to try off the bat. Grim. A lot of good players on Grim can do a lot of damage with him. The hesitation in my voice is simply because I've met a lot of good Grim players, and they are scary. He's a ranger that deals energy damage. He has a displacement ability. He has a slow that he can target onto his basic attack, so he can really kind of, whenever he wants, slow the enemy when he connects with a basic attack. Very strong. His ultimate is a crazy long range, locked on nuke, basically, and just he's powerful. He's scary when played right. Very, 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 very good hero. Some good attack speed to increase his fairly slow basic attack would be very powerful. Some crit, sure, would be good, but just a lot of damage with him. You can get a tanky sustained build with him would actually be very powerful as well. He's scary. He's scary. Very, very powerful. He has good crowd control abilities as well. Again, with that displacement and slow on his basic attack. He's strong. He's strong. Grux. Ooh, what a great ganking hero. What a great secure the kill, pull the enemy into a certain area. He's a monster. Quite literally. He has a pull that he kind of... and then all the enemies kind of are sucked into him. And with that, you can create monstrous plays. You can, you know, suck back enemies that are retreating. You can do all stuff. Very, very powerful. Attack speed is just monstrous with him. He has two kind of clubs that he just goes to town. He's, yeah. You can see that attack speed on fighters, on rangers is very powerful. Cooldown reduction on casters is very powerful. There's kind of some things that are really, really strong with these heroes. So Grux, doing a tanky build with him is just strong because it just keeps you alive. So there's, yeah, he's good. Yeah, you can. He's kind of focused around he's focused on bleeding. He has a bleed on his right click, so there's some cool Fury cards that have some passive inactives based around bleeding. So if you can do a really unique deck with that, he's very, very strong. Really, really good hero. Great jungler as well. Howitzer, hero that's really growing on me. I really liked him early on. Kind of fell off, and now he's kind of back again. He has a great long-range poke with his Q ability. He has a surprising amount of crowd control with two of his abilities. He has a landmine that he can explode on command that sends people flying. Like literally, it's quite a significant knockback. And he has a slow on his right click that he kind of shoots out these mines that kind of grenades are called, and then it slows people when they come close to them and they pop up and kind of just explode. He's a good caster. Definitely shouldn't be underestimated. His ultimate is monstrous. He flies up into the air and shoots out all these missiles, and then there's one big nuke, this huge area that comes down. Very powerful, and he can actually have, he can just, and then after he's done the ultimate, he can like fly away, kind of just off to the side. Very powerful. I think a lot of people underestimate Howitzer. Maybe not so much anymore, but don't underestimate. He can be a monster. He can be a monster. Iggy and Scorch, a little tiny fiend running around, deploying turrets, an absolute lane bully, a crazy laner that you can do a lot of work with Iggy and Scorch. Once he has good amount of damage, good amount of sustain, he can just deploy one turret on a lane minion, on a lane wave, and just like really super efficiently destroy it and just keep going. Great laner, but also a great, actually, surprisingly, a fairly good ganker as well, because his ultimate is a fairly short-ranged kind of cone fire breath that also has knockback at the end of it. So that does a lot of damage. Definitely shouldn't be. There's an Iggy and Scorch running at you head on. Be scared, because that ultimate does a lot of damage. There's some really cool builds you can do with him. A very tanky build where you just focus on a lot of just sustain, a lot of just tank, so that you can just deploy your turrets and just kind of like just run around your turrets. Just force the enemy, especially melee heroes obviously, to come into your turrets and take all the damage, and you just kind of sit there, right, taking all that damage. Very interesting character. A lot of really cool builds that I have yet to try out with him as well. Kaliri, the infamous Kaliri. She is a ninja. Literally she's a ninja. Runs around in stealth a lot of the time. Fantastic jungler. She's, in my opinion, probably the best jungler. Maybe not necessarily in just killing things, but I mean, she can, with a ward and with an upgraded ward, harvester keys, she can go deep into the enemy jungle, destroy their harvesters, be an absolute harassment to their global economy, just shut a team down. Her ultimate gives her pretty much global presence, and with her wards, basically global map awareness. So she's absolutely really powerful. In the right hands, she's really scary. I've come up against a lot of really good Kaliri players that like 4-shot you, 5-shot you. If you're not going to be on a tanky build, like very, very powerful. She can do a lot for the enemy team. That doesn't really give her justice, but sure, attack speed's good on her. Crit, not so much, just because she's in an engagement, she's so fragile that she's only in certain engagements, so for very long, she doesn't really do, yeah, so she's not in engagement for very long, doesn't get many hits off, so you want to really, cram as much damage as you can into those very few hits that you do, and then you jump away. So that's her. What a hero. Definitely something that you have to kind of experience for yourself. Not much I can really tell you. Chimera. He's a beast. He's a beast. The basic function of Chimera is a fantastic jungler, fantastic ganking hero, and sustained fighter. If you build for it. His passive is every time he lands a basic attack, he gets health, he gets increased health regen, and it keeps building, So the longer he's just basic attacking, the more and more health regen that he can get, to the point where it's just astronomical. If he's been in a fight for a minute, he's basically unstoppable. You can get him to like 50, 60, 70, 100 health per second on his health regen if you, build for a nice tanky approach for him that you can just enables you to get your basic attacks off. You can build a little bit of attack speed just because he has another ability that gives him maximum attack speed, so they kind of cancel each other out. Not really, but there's definitely diminishing returns on attack speed with Chimera. So if you can build a tanky, high damage sort of jungle build with Chimera, he's just a monster. He's a monster. His ultimate does a lot of damage. He's really like 1v1, focus this hero and they just like die. Really, really cool character, for sure. Murdock, what a huge popular hero. He's your typical ranger. He shoots a gun and deals damage. Oh, there's been some crazy builds for Murdock in the past until they were nerfed. Like 1800 crit builds, monster damage. Like of all the basic attack rangers, is he the strongest? He might be. It's between him, Sparrow, and Twin Blast. Yeah, so attack speed, getting him to attack faster, getting a good amount of crit on him is powerful. Of course, just damage. Yeah, he's just your gun the enemy down. Little bit of sustain is obviously really good for any hero, really. But attack speed, a lot of crit. I think crit on Murdock has been probably one of the strongest use cases for any of the rangers. So a good amount of crit on Murdock and a good amount of damage is really, really powerful on Murdock. That is what I would suggest for him, for sure. Muriel, my favorite hero. She is so far the strongest, in my opinion, support hero in the game. Says she's a caster. She casts spells and energy damage and stuff. But she is, in my opinion, the strongest support hero. High cooldown reduction, absolutely monstrous on her. A good either mana regen or mana pool, absolute must. And then building tank, like using the rest for tank, for health, for resistances. She's an absolute force with her shields. Some crowd control. She has a slow on her one offensive ability and a increased movement speed, kind of orb that she throws out for either herself or her teammates. My favorite hero. She's just awesome. Like I said, the cooldown reduction mana tank, awesome. Check out my tanky cooldown reduction mana regen support build on her. She's awesome. She's awesome. My favorite by far. Rampage. He's, well, literally, look at him, a monster. He kind of he's based around his ultimate, I would say, just because he's a really good. What am I trying to say? Really good team fight hero with his ultimate. It has been nerfed just recently, but it's still very strong. It gives him a crazy amount of health regen to the point where he can just take anything. Really, if you build a really strong tank build with him, he's just unstoppable. Like, you know, jumps into the fray. He literally, like, he actually has a leap ability. He leaps in. He has a stun with his ability that he can make a lot of stuff happen. You know, isolate an enemy that's running away, stun a key target in a team fight. He's just really strong. And then he can jump in, take a whole bunch of damage, pop his ultimate, have a crazy amount of health regen to then get that health back. Very powerful. His passive though does also have a doubling effect in the jungle. So he actually is a pseudo tank jungler. It's really powerful. A very tanky fighter build. So he's a fighter, he does damage, but he's very tanky. He's probably, I would say, the most appropriate for Rampage. So he getting him so that he does deal a significant amount of damage. Significant, not like crazy, but significant as in it's still relevant. Can actually do something, but be very tanky. That's very appropriate for Rampage. Very strong hero. Oh, Richter, the playmaker. He has a pull. He has a hook that he can hook people. He can, in a stalemate, 5v5 people, around a tower. If he lands his hook, he dictates the game. He gets the hook. That target is just annihilated. Hopefully by your friendly team. He then he empowers his basic attack to then cause a very significant slow, I think, a quite significant slow on the enemy. So once you engage further, yeah, he has an AoE damage ability, so the damage is not that great, but I mean, it does something. It's good for laning. But his ultimate is this. It does a fair amount of damage, but also has a quite long stun. 1.5, 2 second stun. It's fairly significant. So if you can combo, the hook, pulling the enemy into your ultimate, into a stun, and that does again the damage into your empowered basic attack to slow the enemy. He's a playmaker. He's very powerful. As you can see, his durability is 10. He very strong tank. Also come across a very strong fighter builds with him as well that work if you're an off tank. So very powerful hero that I would recommend doing as a little bit of damage, but mainly a tank hero with actually a good amount of cooldown reduction too. Cooldown reduction on him is going to be powerful as well. Sevarog, very. One of the tanks that's grown on me probably the most is because the skill, expert, as you can see, is recommended for expert. The skill required for Sevarog really dictates how powerful he is. One of his abilities is when you last hit an enemy, either hero or a minion, with that ability, you gain stacks. Those stacks individually give you 3 health, I believe, but at every 20, 40, 60, and 80 stacks at those kind of tiers, and 100 stacks, at those tiers, you actually gain 25 extra damage on that siphon. It's called siphon. So, I mean, if you're at 100 stacks on your siphon, that's 300 extra health, and that's 5 times 25. Wow, math. 250, right? 125 extra damage. Jeez, on your siphon. It's a significant amount. So he kind of naturally progresses in damage. So a tanky fighter build with Sevarog, a very tanky fighter build with Sevarog, is very powerful. He has one of his abilities is he roots the enemy. He kind of and then there's like a little thing a little circle that comes on the ground. He roots. If you can land the root, oh, well, right, you can secure so many kills with that. You can root a target in place and just jump on him. It's just crazy. His ultimate is a huge baseball swing with his giant Reaper axe. Just a giant baseball swing that knocks enemies a very significant distance. So you can use that to hit like 3 enemies, 4 enemies, 5 enemies into a tower, you know, and then the tower attacks them. You can make so many good plays with that. You can knock people out of ultimates. You can knock a Gideon out of his ultimate. Very, very strong. And his right click is a he like kind of rushes. He kind of like he rushes forward a significant amount of distance, and he just kind of like floats through enemies and floats through minions. So a good escape mechanic on Sevarog. He's good. He's good. Expert in the hands of an expert. Oh, he's scary. In a team fight, you're kind of like, okay, what's the Sevarog doing? Where's that subjugate his root? Where is that subjugate coming? Is he trying to flank us because he's gonna knock me from behind and just kind of isolate me? Like, he's good. Sparrow. I said Murdock was the atypical ranger, but she's literally a ranger. She has a bow and arrow. She shoots, does crazy amount of damage. A Sparrow, like I've seen Sparrows hit harder than I think anybody else. Her passive is subsequent attacks on a hero does increased damage. So she'll do 30 damage, then 33, then 36, then 39. At the end game, it's nuts. It's like 140, 160, 200, 250, 300. Like it's not that much, but it's ridiculous. It's crazy. So a high damage, high crit actually build with her, I've seen actually be very useful. I've always thought that attack speed would probably be the best on her, just because the faster you can get your basic attacks off, the more you're going to stack your passive. But while I think that theoretically is the more appropriate thing to go with Sparrow, I've just seen a lot of Sparrows do a ton of damage, and they're you know, just normal attack speed, but they hit like trucks. They hit like trucks. I'm kind of still tossed up. I personally go for high attack speed on her and damage, and she's just a glass cannon. She's a glass cannon, really. You really have to protect your Sparrow. High attack speed, a lot of damage. That's what I would recommend on Sparrow for sure. Steel, a really good tank that has a lot of mobility. He uses his ultimate to jump in to stun people. He has a really, really hard engage with that ability, so he can like, okay, team fight now, and he uses his ultimate, stuns the enemy. He has a Q that he kind of like rushes forward with his shield, knocking enemies up. He has a lot of crowd control, and he has a shield. His right click is a shield that reduces damage, so he can make a lot of stuff happen as a very tanky build with him. He's probably the ultimate tank. You kind of figure with the name of Steel. He's probably the ultimate tank in the game at the moment. A really strong Rampage is a monster tank as well, but I think Steel, probably the ultimate tank. There has been really good fighter builds with him. He just punches them like to death like crazy. But I think he's the ultimate tank. Using his abilities more often would certainly be good for him, but I think just a really just tank build with him would be really appropriate. The Fae, the newest hero to the game. She's a monster. She's a crowd control monster. She has so many abilities that slow people down, that pull enemies in. Her ultimate is this huge plant that pulls enemies in and then deals damage. So comboing that with any other AoE ultimate is very strong in terms of team composition. Her Q is line of brambles. She puts down a line of kind of like spiky thorns that slow the enemy down, deals a little bit of damage. Her right click is a AoE plant that deals damage over time and then explodes. So if you can combo her ultimate into your Q to slow them down, or to slow them down, and then it pulls them onto that slow, and then you have your ultimate, or your right click, your plant, right there waiting for them to deal that damage, and then they're slowed, and then it pops, dealing damage. She's really good. She has a long range E ability that when it lands on an enemy hero, you get the mana back. So it's basically like a free long range poke. Absolute lane bully with her line of brambles. She's really powerful. I did a high cooldown reduction mana regen tanky support build with her, and yeah, if you can be tanky, if you can build her to take a lot of damage and have a lot of cooldown reduction so she can throw out her abilities a lot faster, she can be an absolute force. You know, slowing people down in a team fight, doing that AoE damage on your right click when they're slowed, and then pulling them all together again for with your ultimate, so that your friendly team can make stuff happen. She's crazy. In that build, I was able to get quite a bit of cast damage as well, so she's powerful. And Twin Blast. He's gone through a lot lately. He was the go-to ranger, and I mean, there's really no reason to pick any other ranger. It's because he was so powerful. He's been nerfed quite a bit, but now he's at an appropriate level. I think he's at an appropriate level. So he has 2 pistols. He shoots, deals damage. Pretty much it. He has a grenade that's fairly hard to use, kind of. That after a short time it explodes and slows the enemy, so it's good for securing kills and trying to, you know, escape an enemy. He has fairly good mobility. In his right click, he uses rocket boots to kind of like travel a short distance, to rocket a short distance. So he has fairly good mobility like that, to either obviously get away or chase an enemy. High attack speed is really good with him. High damage is good with him. Really high attack speed, lifesteal damage build used to be just monstrous with him. I think that was really the reason why they had to nerf lifesteal, just because he would attack so fast, and then with his Q, which even gives him more attack speed, he would you'd gain all his life back, and you just keep on going. You know, you're just unstoppable. Now that that's been a little bit nerfed, yeah, I'm trying to figure him out now. Trying to maybe if there's, you know, building him a little bit tanky, maybe, you know, to keep him in these fights, keep him just from dying, is valuable. Lots of things that we have to try out with Twin Blast. I'm not that expert, obviously, on him, so I would just recommend, yeah, just a little bit of attack speed, high damage, a little bit of sustain would be really good, I think, for Twin Blast now. There you guys have it. There is a very brief overview of all of the heroes. Took much longer than I anticipated, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea with each of the heroes. They're all powerful in their own right. Used in the right hands, it can be powerful. Team composition's obviously just very important. I prefer, when I'm able to, if I'm not trying to do a particular build guide or anything, I prefer personally to build according to my team, or sorry, hero pick according to my team, and build according to my team. So if you have a good team comp, there's no reason why any of these heroes can't be effective. They're all quite powerful in their own right. I've seen a lot of really good builds with all of these heroes. There you guys have it. There is the beginner's approach to all of these heroes. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of this guide. Hopefully that gives you a good start for all of the heroes, and kind of trying to, you know, build these heroes appropriately according to my experience with them. If you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Please leave a comment down below on the guide. If you disliked it, why, etc. Please share the video with the community, and of course, subscribe. If you found this useful or simply enjoyed the video, please subscribe so I can do it for you again in the future. Social media stuff coming on the next screen. Please do all of that. And of course, until next time, take care.